All right, so we're continuing our review here. We're on surface area and volume, which is Unit 9, which is going to be toward the back of the review packet. So we're going to be talking about volume first, and then surface area of two different types of figures. But first, we're going to start with volume. And this year, we only found volume of rectangular prisms, or like boxes. So to find the volume of a rectangular prism, you would do volume equals length times width times height. So for the first example, we have a rectangular prism. Volume equals length times width times height. It's going to find out how many cubic feet would fit in this particular box. So I'm going to label these just so I know which one's which. I'm going to say 10 is the length, 4 is the width, and 6 is the height. Again, if you label them differently, that's fine. You're still going to get the same answer. And that's due to the commutative property of multiplication. So the length is 10, the width is 4, the height is 6. 4 times 6 times 10, you can do it on a calculator, certainly. It's going to be 240 feet cubed. All right. Well, the next one's slightly different, even though it's still the same type of figure. It's a rectangular prism. This one has a mixed number involved. So we're going to do volume equals length times width times height. We're going to swoop that mixed number. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22 fifths. And then the other numbers we can change into fractions too. It would be 10 over 1 and 3 over 1. Okay, so it doesn't matter really which one's which. I'll call 10 the length, and 22 fifths the width, and 3 the height. Again, if you mix up the labels, no problem. You're still going to get the same answer. All right, the length is 10 over 1. The width is 22 fifths. The height is 3 over 1. Now you can look diagonally to see if there's anything you can simplify. I see a 10 and a 5 diagonally, so I'm gonna simplify that. The 5 is going to be a 1. 10 is going to be a 2. Again, you can use a calculator for this, but 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 22 is 132. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. It's going to be 132 over 1, which is 132 meters cubed. So the key thing here is when you see a mixed number, to convert it to a fraction by using the swoop, and then looking to simplify if possible. And we're going to see that in the next one too, this lovely cereal box. So we're going to swoop the mixed numbers that we can. 12 and a half, we're going to swoop that. 2 times 12 is 24, plus 1 is 25 halves. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13 over 4. And then 8 is 8 over 1. 8 over 1. So same thing, we're going to find the volume. Volume equals length times width times height. Okay, and volume equals, I'm going to say, I don't know, the 8 is the length, 13 fourths is the width, 25 halves is the height. So we have 8 over 1. Width is 13 fourths times the height is 25 over 2, or 25 halves. Okay. Now, let's see, can we simplify anything? Well, I'm looking at 8 and a 4. We can simplify the 8 and the 4. We can do like 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. Now, this is kind of a special case here because if you look diagonally again, that 2 and this 2 right here, the red 2 and the blue 2, they're also diagonal. I know they're not next to each other, but they're still diagonal, so we can simplify those as well. So this 2 is going to turn into a 1, and this 2 is also going to turn into a 1, and now we've simplified it so much that it's become a lot simpler. 1 times 13 is 13. 13 times 25, again, you'll have a calculator there, but that's 13 quarters. I know 12 quarters is $3. So 13 quarters is 325 over, what's 1 times 1 times 1? It's 1. So 325 divided by 1 is 325 inches cubed. Okay. So again, that's another case where the swoop can come in handy. So now we're looking at a question, it's a little different. It says, based on their dimensions, which prism would have the greatest volume? So, which rectangular prism would have the greatest volume? So we have 4 different prisms. So we're going to find 4 different volumes. But I'm going to kind of set this up like a little chart. I'm only going to write the formula once because we're using the same formula for all 4. So volume equals length times width times height. And then I'm going to set up like a little chart here. So I'm going to say like here's A, and then this will be B, and this will be C, and this will be D. So let's find the volume of each one. This first one, Prism A, I'm going to kind of do the fraction ones in 2 different ways. There's a couple different ways you can do this. This mixed number can kind of easily be changed into a decimal. 2.5 is just 2.5. So we can do that. Okay. So it's going to be 3 times 11 times 2.5, which is 3 times 11 is 33. I'm just getting a calculator here. 3 times 11 is 33, and then 33 times 2.5 equals 82.5. 82.5 centimeters cubed. All right, so far A is in the lead because A is the only one we've done so far. So let's check out B. B is going to be 3 times 9 times 2. This one's kind of easy because there's no fractions, there's no decimals to deal with, so we would just multiply the numbers. 3 times 2 is 6, times 9 is 54. So Prism B is out because it's less than A. So B, it's not B. All right, let's check C. C is also all whole numbers, which is nice. So we have 3 times 13 times 2, which is 6 times 13, which is 78 centimeters cubed. So this one's also out of the running because A is still greater. So C is out, C is out. Last one to check is D. We'll see if D is greater, and I don't think it is, but we're still going to try it. So I'm actually going to do the other way here. I'm going to swoop this time. 2.5 would be 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So it'd be 5 halves. So again, if the decimal's easy to work with, sometimes it can be helpful to change it to a decimal. Sometimes it's easier to leave it as a fraction, like when the decimal would be repeating. So it's going to be 2 over 1 times 11 over 1 times 5 halves. So what makes this one kind of not too bad is because the 2 and the 2 here are diagonal from each other, and that means if we're multiplying and they're diagonal, we can simplify them. So this 2 and this 2 would become 1. 11 times 5 times 1 is 55 over 1, which is simply 55 centimeters cubed. So this one's also out. D is gone. So the answer is A because it has the greatest volume of all 4. All right, now we're going to take a look at surface area. And there are 2 methods that we have for finding the surface area of a rectangular prism. I'm going to show you both. We're going to remember both. We're going to start with the bumps method, which is we're going to find the surface area here, and we're going to use the dimensions to help us find the numbers we're working with. So notice that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers here, but there are 3 different numbers. So the 15s are the same. So we're just looking at 10, 15, and 8. So I'm leaving that 15 out because, again, it repeats. The 15 repeats. So we're looking for the three numbers that are different. So 15, we'll call that the length. We'll call the 10 the width, and we'll call 8 the height. Again, it doesn't matter what order you put them in or what you label. It'll all come out the same in the end. So length is 15, width is 10, height is 8. So now we're going to do the bumps. Bump, bump, mega bump. First bump is LW. Got to remember that there's two of those, so 2 times LW. Plus, what's the next bump? WH. We have 2 of those as well. 2 times W times H. Put a little dot there too. Plus, what's the last bump? Height times length. 2 times height times the length. So there's our formula, and we got it by using the bumps, making sure that each bump was multiplied by 2, because there's 2 of each type of side. There's 2 greens, 2 yellows, 2 blues. So now we're going to substitute our numbers, and then we'll multiply and see what we get. So it's going to be 2 times length is 15, the width is 10, plus 2 times the width is 10, the height is 8, plus 2 times the height is 8, and the length is 15. And now I'm just going to kind of swoop these just to show you like what I'm multiplying here. So next we're going to multiply out each group. Surprisingly, we probably won't need a calculator for this. 2 times 15 is 30, times 10 is 300, plus 2 times 8 is 16, times 10 is 160, plus 2 times 15 is 30, times 8 is 240. So lastly, to get our answer, we're going to add those all up. 160 plus 240, I know, is 400, and then plus 300 would be 700. So that's going to be inches squared because this is area. So that's one way to find the surface area, is using the bumps. Another way that we learned was big A. And if we used a highlighter to show big A, I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to highlight big A on this next one. Again, you could do either method, really, when you have the picture, or the net is what we have right now. Sometimes you don't have the net, which is when the bumps can be really helpful. But we do have the net, so we're gonna use both methods for now, and you can pick the one that you think works best for you. Okay, so we have big A, and we have 2 little b's. So you got to remember that we got 2 little b's. So at the end, after we find the area of one of the b's, we're going to multiply it by 2. But because they're both rectangles, we're going to use the same formula for both. Area equals base times height. So big A, the base, so the base is the hardest thing to find. I'm going to use a different color pen here. So the base is this entire length right here, whatever that is. So we have to add up some numbers. So this section here is 14. This section here is 35. And then we have another 14. And we have another 35. So this one's kind of be a long one here. 35 plus 35 is 70. And then 14 plus 14 is 28. So 70 plus 28 is 98. The whole thing is 98. And the height, which is right here, the height is just 10. So that's not too bad because, we're multiplying by 10. 98 times 10 is 980 yards squared. And then B is also base times height. But B is a little smaller. So the base of B is just right here, it's 35. And the height of B is right here is 14. So that one's a little easier to find because you don't have to add up any lengths or bases or anything like that. So we'll do 35 times 14, and we get 490. 490. which I think is exactly half of 980, actually. And this is going to be yards squared. But remember, we have to multiply that by 2. So 490 times 2, because there are 2 B's, there are 2 B rectangles, is 980. So it just kind of worked out that way. And we're going to add these two numbers. We're going to add these two together to get the total surface area. 980 plus 980, or 980 times 2, I guess. So if we add those up, 0 plus 0 is 0. 8 plus 8 is 16. And we have 1,960 yards squared. All right, that's our answer for that one. So again, either method works. When you have a net, when you have a picture like that, when there's no picture, that's when the bumps can come in handy. All right, last one here, some triangular prism. We can't use the bumps here because this is not a rectangular prism, it's triangular. So we're going to use big A. So we're going to find big A, which is going to be right here, this rectangle right in the middle. And then you notice that we have 2 B triangles this time. This is slightly different because the B shapes or polygons are now triangles. So there's 2 of them though, but we're going to use a different formula than the parallelogram formula. So we have big A, and we have triangle B. We have 2 of those times 2. So let's find A first. So A is just area equals base times height because it's a parallelogram. Let's find what the total base is here. So each length is 4, and this is 4. And I know it's not labeled, but this is also 4. If that were on a test like that, I would tell you, if you asked, like, if there was a missing dimension there, I would tell you what it is. Unless that was, if you were asked to find a missing dimension, then I wouldn't. But this would be 4 as well. So we have 4 plus 4 plus 4. So the base of A is 12, and the height is 8. 12 times 8 is 96. 96 centimeters squared. Okay, B. Let's look at B. So the base of B, I'm not kind of draw it out in blue here, that's 4. And the height is 5. So we're going to use area equals base times height divided by 2 because it's a triangle. So the base of B is 4. The height is 5 divided by 2. And then you think, can we simplify? Yes, we can. 2 and the 4, we can simplify. The 2 becomes 1. The 4 becomes 2. 2 times 5 is 10 centimeters squared. And there's 2 of them, so we'll do 10 times 2, which is 20. And then we will add these 2 numbers together. This is the B's and the A, so we get 96 plus 20. And our surface area is 116 centimeters squared. And that's that. So it's a nice review of volume and surface area. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, hope to see you soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.